Good morning. It's Sunday, April 19th. I've been up for a bit, enjoying a bit of worship and waiting for him to put up the message at church. And with enjoying music, enjoying the fact that I have music in stereo for the first time in for freaking ever. I'm like, oh yeah, music usually comes from more than just one single spot. Weird. But also been looking at computer parts. Gotta start thinking about it, start putting together a list of possibilities. We'll see. And church was lovely. Message that kind of went over communication and love languages. Well, that's great. But also back on figuring out things with, building a computer. Probably not going to actually order anything today, but just kind of making a document, getting some ideas together. And as it has been, probably 3 years at least since I've built a computer, and probably 8 or 9 years since I've built one, for my higher end purposes, video editing, that kind of thing. As I'm looking through options here, I'm trying to figure things out, and it's this motherboard supports up to, 128 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm like, do I need that now? I think I have 16, and I know 16's not enough. I'm like, do I really need that much? To which case, I was like, no, it's very expensive. Then I go down to 64 is the next block down, and looking up some recommendations online, it's this is recommended if you're going to be editing 8K footage, to which my brain says, ooh, I might jump up to 1080 at some point here, because I've been doing 720. 32, it says, is good for anything, any type of editing with heavy use of background hogs. I was like, okay, so it looks like 32 will be fine. But I wasn't sure. And looking more into memory, it looks like I'm basically going to pay the same amount if I get 2 sticks that are 16 gigabytes as opposed to 4 that are 8 gigabytes. Which means if I go with 2 16 gigabyte sticks, that gives me a pretty good option for updating in the future. Just thinking. Yeah. And it is nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As I look at the clock and I'm like, ooh, I've been doing this for a while. Part of me is like, is that really a useful way to spend your limited time off? And another part of me is like, yeah. Because I did basically come up with parts for a computer. Ended up being about 2,200. I was thinking about 2,000. So a little more than what I was thinking, but not really that much given how much it is total. I think I'd be pretty happy with it. Definitely a couple things to think about. With the way that I designed it on here and kind of came up with things, I ended up with a case that does not have any of the, 5.25 or whatever the size is. There's none of those bays on the case that I found, or on a lot of the cases. Which means that there's nowhere to put an internal, Blu-ray burner, and then there's also nowhere to put, an internal card reader. Now, I was able to get, I think, something like 8 USB 3.0 ports, or 3.1 Type 2, a mix, but whatever, basically 3.0 or better. Which means I could have both of those components be external. And I think a couple of days ago I would have thought of that and said, oh, that's ridiculous, I would not want to do that. But given yesterday, and the fact that yesterday I installed that hard drive bay right there. I'm like, I mean, I would need to do a little tidying up because there's a bit of a mess of cables right here. But I do have a spot right here where cables can go. And I could basically just make it where, in addition to that, there's spots for the Blu-ray burner and the card reader that are all above the table. And part of me is thinking, would I like that more, not having to reach under the table? Some of the other things I did when I was designing it, I went for Western Digital's Red drives, which are designed for, I forget what it is, but basically they're designed for server-like environments, because I did some research and it's like, well, what's the difference? And it's like, oh, these are designed to be on 24/7, and I'm like, oh. Well, I mean, that's what I do, so I should probably have had those all along. And one of the things, even with my original estimate I knew of, would be updating the main operating system software drive to be a 1 terabyte solid state drive. I mean, it should make things faster. It'll be quite a bit more RAM, better graphics card, going from a first generation of the type of CPU I have to the 9th generation. Also, one of the things I'm looking at possibly would be liquid cooling just for the CPU. Like it's like I'm not having to mess with the liquid. I'm not having to deal with the tank. I don't want to do none of that. So I've always just discounted liquid cooling. However, I stumbled upon some things while I was looking up stuff, because really for me it's just toys. I'm like, ooh, look at all the things that exist now. And there's an option where it's all built in the radiator and pump, and you just connect it to the CPU, and you connect the radiator to the external of the case, and it has the internal liquid that goes between it, but you're not having to deal with it. I mean, obviously, if it breaks, then that, but I mean, that'd basically be then you replace it. I think it has like a 5-year warranty, which is better than a lot of the fans do. Or at least equal. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Just thinking about it. I told Nick, I was like, because that computer went out, replacing the computer is probably moved above replacing the camera. And I mean, they're about the same cost. And I was right about to the point where I could replace the camera. I am past the point where I could replace the camera. I don't know. I'll think about it, pray about it. Probably send a list of parts and such to a few people, get their opinions. Maybe. Of course, if I do, I'll be taking y'all along. Now, like I said, it's almost 3. I am hungry. I have not eaten yet today. I need some breakfast. And I went with cheddar brats because it was pretty quick to make, and it's already much later. Should have eaten a few hours ago. Shouldn't go this long into the day without eating. Not good. Oh well. Eating now. And it's pretty late at this point. I might have spent some more time watching David play Skyrim again today. Maybe not the most productive use, but I was thoughtful to at least be productive with time around that. Before hopping on to do that, I made sure to edit a session video. That way I have something that can export overnight. Accomplishing things. While on watching that, caught up with some messages for some of the dating sites. I worked more on my computer parts list and got it sent to a few people to get some input. And then I made sure to get off in time to edit a vlog, so that's exporting now, and that'll be able to come out tonight. No worries. I also need to do dinner, so I'm thinking some options. Mom had gotten me a rotisserie chicken, and rather than use this one for buffalo dip, because the only thing I have as part of that recipe is the actual buffalo sauce, I have none of the other ingredients other than that and the chicken. So I'm like, by the time I get to the store to buy the rest of the stuff, I could just buy another chicken if I want. So I just cut off some bits and I will just have some chicken. And that's ready. While it was cooking, I got the vlog all uploaded. Looks like I will still manage to get to bed on time, which is good. I mean, I'm off tomorrow, but the next day I do go in to pick up the equipment that I'll need to work from home. So I'll make sure that I can get up in plenty of time. And I mean, I'm going in the middle of the day. I'm not going into my usual early morning time, but still, I imagine the following day I will be up at that early morning time to start working, so. Oh well. You know what? I got plenty of good time off that I've enjoyed. And I do appreciate having the job. And so many people have lost theirs, so. I want to complain. But I have no right to, and I know it. But yeah. Today was mostly just computer. Which, if I end up buying the parts and building the computer while all that information is still relevant, it was a day well spent. If I wait too long and have to redo all the research, well then it was wasted. But hopefully, here in the next month, maybe 2, I'll be getting that. Maybe sooner, who knows. And if I do, then that's good research to put in. Because yeah, there's no longer a computer there. I'm down to just one computer. I don't like that. As I was thinking about moving it, I'm like, I might even, once that computer moves to be a secondary computer in here, my brain is saying I could even continue, say, to edit vlogs on that and just do the higher end videos on the new computer. And if I do that, then I could edit a higher end video, set it to export, come in here, and edit a vlog while it's exporting a video in there. I'm like, 2 machines for editing different things could have its uses. But time will tell. I'm gonna eat the chicken while it's still warm, and then go to bed. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues. Bye.